Okay. Whenever someone wants to do an intro.
Welcome. Welcome back to Copy and Paste, our fantastic podcast.
Welcome to Copy and Paste.
So today we're talking about education, and we're talking about data and education, sort of. So maybe we can start by talking about like the history of education, where it came from, why it's
Maybe we can start
there.
talking about that. Just
Maybe if we
Don't
feel
think about it.
like it, I don't know.
Not like we researched it or anything. Okay, so I'm not sure if we said this in like our podcasts or our brainstorm meetings, but I remember we talked about how schools are modeled after manufacturing plants.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, we were right, but we're gonna start off with like from the primitive times, since like the start of civilization. So I read this article on Psychology Today, which summarizes it amazingly, and we'll link it in the description. But basically, so when it was just like cavemen, basically, children, since they were able to walk, were like allowed to just go out and explore by themselves. And that's how they learned and developed as adults, because all of the skills back then were just like basic survival skills. Um, and then once civilization started to build, that's when kids were used as laborers in like agriculture and or for their families' farms or their families' livelihoods. So they just go into the trades that their like fathers were in or that their parents were in. And this happened for like a lot, thousands of years. And then during, or especially when royalty was like a thing, like kingdoms and stuff, the only people who got to really study, which was mostly history and philosophy, were members of the royal families or nobles or like really wealthy people in these kingdoms. And that all changed because of religion. So in the 16th century, people were like, you know what? Kids need to learn the word of God. So they made it mandatory for kids to go to church and learn about God and like read the Bible. And basically, when America got colonized, that's when those beliefs were brought into America. And they were like, okay, well, these American kids and colonies need to also learn the word of God. And that's how schools started in America, which is just literally just religion. And then over time, when manufacturing became a thing, so like late 18th century, start of 19th century, and then into the 20th century, that's when kids had to work in factories and learn how to operate all of these machines. And then people were like, wait a second, all of this stuff is actually getting a lot harder and technology is advancing really quickly. So we need these kids to actually learn a lot more than just how to operate these machines. So they sent them to school to learn math and science and English and all of those other lovely things. And since kids were used as laborers in all of these factories, they were like, that's how we're also going to teach you school. You're also going to do 8 hours of school, just like you did 8 hours of work. And we're still going to abuse you. Like, back in the day, they'd like hit children with rulers or whips sometimes. So that's how they used to treat them in schools as well, because they were like, this is how these kids are going to behave if we discipline them with abuse. And over time, this has now become the schooling system we're in today. Obviously, abuse isn't allowed anymore, but there's still that power that the teachers have over the students, and they like assert certain things that students must do, like the bell doesn't dismiss you, I do, or like if you don't do your homework, you're gonna get detention or anything like that. Just power, like coercive power.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a brief history of how it started and where we are today.
That is very interesting.
Very nice. Very nicely done, Famita.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm glad they still can't hit us with the rulers and stuff.
They would. If it was still legally allowed, they would.
Yeah. So,
Any thoughts, concerns about the history?
I think education is a load of garbage. Maybe not all of it, not entirely.
Mm-hmm.
I like learning, but I think I don't know.
See, the article explains this.
Yeah.
It's like we love learning because humans are like curious by nature.
Yeah.
But because these schools make learning and studying like a job, like they literally treat it like a 9-to-5 job, it takes away our curiosity and becomes more of like a chore. And
yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
Okay, I don't want
that's what I don't like about it. Like, actually, just learning, it's pretty enjoyable for me. Like, I don't know about you guys, but like the stuff that we actually learn in school, I kind of find interesting. But like the annoying part about it is like the testing and stuff that's involved, because then it's like I'm not like, it makes it feel like I'm like studying because I have to, not because I want to, you know. I think that's the problem. But
yeah, and not to mention,
what are we gonna do, honestly?
Schooling establishments were built on a lot of classism, because it only started with like rich kids or nobility or royalty, and also sexism, because girls couldn't go to school until like the 19th century or 18th century. So there's also that, and so like systemically, this like school as an establishment does not work.
Yeah, even like still, it's still pretty like inaccessible to like different people. I don't know.
Yeah, like it's still classist, and it's still sexist.
Exactly.
Also racist while we're at it.
Yep.
And sexist while we're at it.
We said that one already.
Oh, sorry. I wasn't paying attention. I thought we said classist.
We said that too.
Oh, sorry.
They're everythingist. Everything that they can be, they are.
They're not just nothing good.
Oh, man. Nothing.
Yeah, and the fact that people realize that this isn't working, there's like papers on papers and articles on articles that are like, hey, your school system doesn't work. But only a few places have changed their schooling systems, you know, like majority of schools are still like 8 to 3:30 or 8 to 4, longer if you do extracurriculars.
I remember when kindergarten, I don't know if this was like a province-wide thing, a countrywide thing, but at least for me, kindergarten was only half a day. Now,
I think it was a TDSB thing.
Oh, okay.
It was half a day for me too.
Oh, okay, never mind. Maybe it was a province thing.
Oh. You weren't half a day kindergarten, Famita?
I wasn't here for kindergarten.
Oh my god, I didn't know that. Learn something new every day.
I came in grade 2.
Oh, that's very interesting.
But no, actually, I think you're right. It was a province-wide thing, because for my sister, when she started kindergarten, I remember you could choose whether you wanted
half a day or full day.
And I think that's during the transition where parents were like, you can't just change the law and like expect us to be able to like pick up our kids or something like that. Or like, I don't know. But I remember my mom was like, yeah, send her for a full day.
That's so, I don't know, I just think that's so silly. Like, what are 4 and 5-year-olds doing for 8 hours of the day? Maybe not 8 hours. How long is school? 6? I don't know.
They're just slobbering over their crayons or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, like I understand them learning like the ABCs and numbers, like just general
Yeah.
communication and language and
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah, I don't know why 5-year-olds are tested on their ABCs and
I
their
know.
numbers.
Yeah.
And not to mention every kid learns at their own pace.
True.
So you're like setting these kids up for competition since they're
Mm-hmm.
like 5 years old.
Yep.
Toxic.
Yeah. It's actually, I don't, it's so crazy. This is kind of off topic a little bit, but it's crazy for me to think about like us at age 4 or 5, just like learning our ABCs and like where we are now. Like, imagine like nowadays, like the schooling that we're doing, it's like there's not a day that goes by where you don't have work to do. You know what I mean? Like, at
Yeah.
what point did that happen? Like, at what point was it just normalized to just be like constantly working all the time?
Actually, fun fact. So I went to school in Saudi Arabia, and I had
Mm-hmm.
exams in kindergarten.
What?
Yeah, I wrote exams on words, spellings, numbers, addition, subtraction, all
And you
of
had to
that
study
good
for
stuff.
that?
Yep, I still have my exams with me, like the exam papers.
No way. That's
Wow.
crazy. What?
Yeah, and we learned 2 languages, well,
Wow.
three. So there was like English, and then there was Arabic because obviously Saudi Arabia, and then there's also Hindi. So I learned 3 languages at the age of 5.
So you're smart,
What?
smart.
Oh no, who said I remembered though?
Oh
Because as soon as we came to Canada, it's just
my
like English, right? Like straight
goodness.
English.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that.
They made you write what if you didn't pick up on how to write? What if you're not good at writing? Like, you
You
don't know how to hold
failed.
a pencil. Oh my god, that's crazy. Do you remember like taking exams in kindergarten?
Uh-huh, I
Oh
do.
my,
They just
that's
sit you in
so
a classroom with like your teacher, and your teacher would give you the examination papers, and they'd time it. It was like an hour or something.
That's so crazy. Like, what if you have to pee? Like, some kindergartners, like, I don't know, they just got potty trained. Like,
Oh yeah, you needed to be potty trained.
oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah, we
That's
also
very
had art
interesting.
exams.
Art?
Yeah,
That
so
must have been rough.
Oh my
yeah,
goodness. So if you're like artistically challenged,
yep.
sorry.
So they just and each
Yeah, what if you're
section of art.
colorblind?
Oh well, they never got tested, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah, we'd had like drawing/painting exams and then sculpting exams with clay.
No way.
Wow.
Sculpting?
Yep.
What if you don't have a hand? Like, just in case, like, that's not a very fair exam.
Oh, here's another term. There are schools that are ableist too.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a good word.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness. Like, what's the reason for that? Like, there's no, I don't know. I
just
don't
to
really see a
train
need.
kids, just so they
That's,
grow up and, work at capitalist companies.
wow. Hmm.
But yeah, these schools still exist though, like in the other part of the world.
That is crazy.
Yep.
That is so crazy.
But, like, who's to say what's, like, a good and bad way to run a school? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
it's true.
now, like, after kindergarten, you're just, like, already still advanced. Even though, like, it's a lot of testing. But, like, who's to say,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like it worked out well. Like I'm here in an engineering program.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for the kids like who didn't need that or found it way too hard, they're probably like struggling with
Mm-hmm.
their education,
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys remember in middle school when we did the whole like what type of learner you are quizzes? Like are you a logical learner? Are you a visual learner? Did you guys do that?
No.
I mean, I know what you're talking about, but I don't think I ever actually did it.
Oh, we had like a full week where they just did activities based on like the different types of learners, and then my literacy teacher gave us tags, and she's like, "Okay, Famita, you're this type of learner. Okay, you're this type of learner," and then that's how she taught us based on what type of learner we
Interesting.
are. So maybe it was just my teacher thing then.
Maybe.
Yeah. Our
I've
teachers did
heard of
not
that.
care.
Yeah, they did not care.
Damn.
So just how like Emma was saying, like who's to decide like what's good education, what's bad, whatever, like how that's subjective. Like I was doing research about who's to decide what the curriculum even is, and I did research for like the Canadian education system. So like for us, it's by province. So like the Minister of Education for each province decides what the curriculum is. But there's like a board. They're called the Council of Ministers of Education, actually. And they
Oh
just like
wow.
they join together, and I guess they like meet or whatever to like talk about like best practices or whatever, stuff like that. Like so I remember like our discussion in our brainstorming session was like, are these people even like ethical? And like
Mhm.
from what I researched, like they actually kind of try to be, but it also like depends on the government, like who's, yeah, it honestly just depends. Like there's no like ethics board behind it, but like people try to be a little bit ethical. So like here's like the review process for how they determine what the curriculum is. So I think they like repeat this process like every year, every couple years. I'm not too sure, to be honest. But they basically just like do research on the curriculum, and then they benchmark. So, okay, wait, sorry. This is for Ontario, by the way. They benchmark their curriculum against like the curriculum across the rest of the country and like the rest of the world or whatever. And then they get like subject experts to like review drafts and whatever and make sure it's like academically accurate. And then they also get like people to edit it to like remove biases, and then like they also want to promote inclusive education, so then they get like Aboriginal people to like um review and edit it and stuff. So there's like different perspectives that are taken into account like during this review process, which like I guess is kind of good. I didn't really know that. um and then I was reading some more, and like there's a lot of times where like the government does like include a lot of like inclusive like subjects into the curriculum.
Mhm.
But the reason that like a lot of students aren't educated on it is because the teachers who are actually implementing like the curriculum, like they're just not teaching it. Like for example, like I found this picture. I'm not exactly sure what age it's from, but like it was a picture of what um grades like sexual health education is introduced, and
Mhm.
there and even there's another part that shows like when homosexuality is talked about, because I guess like the government like put that into the curriculum. And then there's like for a bunch of provinces like Manitoba, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, like they don't even mention homosexuality, and then like in the other provinces it's like mentioned like so late, like some are like grade 11 and 12 is when it's first mentioned. And then like the sexual health education, a lot of the provinces are like it's like everywhere. Some is in like grade 3, grade 5, grade 6, grade 7. So it's pretty like up to the teachers to like correctly implement the government's um like curriculum. I don't know. and and then I was doing more research about like kind of like history of like multicultural education in Canada.
Mhm.
So like a long time ago, when so there was like a multi there so Trudeau, the old Trudeau, introduced the multiculturalism policy or whatever.
Mhm.
And then that's when they first started to like um teach like they started to like promote diversity and stuff in the education system. And then yeah, and then after a couple years later or whatever, um they tried to incorporate like ethnic studies and like different language programs and stuff, and then like have like all sorts of representation like in the curriculum. But then like a new government came in, and then like they just changed their focus, and they like stopped caring about that. And then yeah, that's why like nowadays there's not really that much talk of like culturalism. I don't know what the words are, but there's like not that much like diversity. Like our curriculum is pretty like Eurocentric.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's why it's not really, I mean, it kind of is because the government didn't really put it into our curriculum, but it's for the most part because our teachers are probably white people who don't really care to talk about that stuff.
I'm not even surprised
Yeah.
because when I went to school in Toronto,
Mm-hmm.
my teachers were like pretty diverse. Like I had like a good amount of like South Asians, good amount of
Mm-hmm.
Black, good amount of like white and East Asians. Like I had a diverse group of teachers.
Really?
And then when I moved to Hamilton, which is like suburban, like Stony Creek,
Yeah.
all of my teachers were white. Every single one. And the whole school was white. There was not a single person of color teacher.
Actually, I was gonna say like actually I had a lot of white teachers, but like yeah, it when I because I went to two different elementary schools. The
Mm-hmm.
first one, yeah, there was definitely a lot more like diversity and like multicolored teachers there.
Mm-hmm.
But then again I was young, so I don't really remember much about what I learned. But I do remember when I moved to my second school, all the teachers were white, all the kids were white.
Mm-hmm.
I was older, and I don't remember learning about anything else other than like the white history, pretty much.
Yep. Yeah.
That is so crazy to me because, like, okay, I don't know about you guys. Like, were a lot of your classmates white too?
No.
In elementary school, my later parts of elementary school, yes. In high school, no.
So, okay, okay, sorry, this is like kind of like going off the main point now, but like
That's okay.
it's it's like weird to think that you have Eurocentric teaching and you have so many white teachers, but literally all the students are so diverse. Like
Yeah.
how do you just
Yeah.
teach that? How do you just do that?
It's like the class is full of like Asians and like Black people and whatever, and then they're just talking about like white people.
Yeah. You know
Like,
those memes of like English teachers teaching To Kill a Mockingbird?
Mm-hmm.
And they're
yeah.
like, oh, I have to say the N-word because it's educational and it puts us in the scene of what it's like to be at in
Oh my God.
that
Do I have
era.
a story?
Like, don't say the
Yeah.
N-word.
Yeah.
I swear, like these white people, okay, not to generalize, but racist white people, especially racist white English teachers, are looking for opportunities to just be racist
Oh, for sure.
and
Yeah.
using
Yep.
literature as an excuse.
Yep.
100%. Like, did you see all that stuff at U Ottawa?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, and this is, I guess, for very minimal viewers. U Ottawa is, if you don't know, it's a petition going around that professors and educators are signing to be able to say the N-word in class without repercussions because it's educational, which it like
How is that educational?
yeah, like it's just blatantly ignorant when everyone in the class and everyone of this decade and it's just don't say it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if they want to argue the education point, then have a Black professor teach the historical significance of the
Exactly.
word.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
Like why is that allowed? Why is that even a why and like the number of people who have actually signed it,
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
embarrassing.
Oh my God. And I also know in history class especially, all we learn is about how Canada and Britain were involved in the two wars. and how like
Exactly.
it's literally like, oh my God, Winston Churchill, our man, he saved us from Hitler. And then it's like, yep, Canada fought in these wars, whatever, the War of 1812. Okay, love that, love learning history, but I know nothing about the history of indigenous peoples who, first of all,
Exactly.
founded this land.
I don't know.
Like,
Yeah, okay, sorry. Continue. I have
no,
another
go
point
for it.
after. Like, I don't know if they did this at like your school, but at my school, at the end of like when after they did like "Oh Canada" or whatever, they would say like this. I don't like
Oh, the
this like
treaty agreement?
territorial
Yeah.
acknowledgement thingy. Yeah, as if like that like meant anything to anybody. It's like you like in our history classes, they're not teaching us anything about like
Mm-hmm.
Aboriginals and like
Wow.
how we came to this land, and then they think that it's like enough to just be like, "Yep, I acknowledge we're here on your land. Good for
Like,
us."
okay.
Like, okay,
At least they did that. We never did that.
really?
Really?
Yeah. And it's like it's crazy to think like why don't you guys teach about that when the last residential school closed 1996. 19
Yeah, that was not that long ago.
freaking 6.
That's how old some like Gen Zs are, like
Yeah.
1996.
Seriously, like that's how old some of my coworkers and my friends are. Like,
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, they just love to teach about wars. Just, like, you know what? They taught so much about these stupid wars, and I'm still confused. It was pointless. I like they did not need to teach us
And
about
they don't
like
even teach us
how
the
we fought
good,
in World War One.
like the proper parts of the war, like the racism,
They
the
taught us of like
classism,
yeah, they taught us about the freaking battle at Vimy Ridge. I don't know if
yeah,
you guys
like
know what that
remember
is.
I
Like
yeah, I
had
do.
a test
stupid
on
shit.
dates. Literally, on what day did we conquer like
Yeah,
what's that one beach which they conquered?
I don't
Oh my
even know.
God. But yeah, I
Like,
remember Vimy Ridge, the poem.
yeah.
Yeah.
No disrespect to our veterans, of course. They fought when we can have freedom, etc. But
Yeah.
they shouldn't even have had to. We shouldn't have to fight, guys. Yeah, have you ever seen that
Like
meme where it's like students studying international relations, like the country should just kiss? Like, yeah.
Well, I understand why the wars happened and like why people
yeah,
needed
like
to step in and be like, okay, like stop. But what I don't get is why we learn about,
the stupid parts about it.
yeah, like this dude,
Like what date it happened. Like, okay, I
Oh my
don't need to
God.
memorize it. It happened on like December 7th.
like
Like
tell me the political
doesn't matter.
theories about why it happened. Tell me
Yeah.
how, like what we've learned from these wars. Don't tell me like, okay, then I get demographics are important. I understand that. But I was like, we should learn all of these other facts with the numbers, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
you know what? This just like unclogged a memory. You know what we used to learn in our history class about wars was like how deep trenches were.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. Oh
my
my
God.
God.
Oh my God, yes. The
What
trenches.
significance is that? Like, and how people would get like, oh, was it athlete's foot or something else?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because their boots would be soggy. Like, okay, and how about
Wait, did you guys
Remember.
learn about how like in I think it was in World War One maybe they like pissed on themselves because I
oh,
don't
tear gas and stuff like that?
Oh
Yeah,
Oh,
something like
yeah,
that.
I remember. Like I get it. Look, all significant things, but tell me how this impacted like the
Yeah.
people living in these places. Tell me
yeah,
what
like I feel
things it
like
started. Like, oh my God.
there's a cover up here. Like they're just not telling us something.
And
Mad.
I
Mhm.
don't know about you, but like I didn't like I think the most like maybe
Whoops, haha, cliffhanger. So we ended up recording for over 3 hours, so this will be split into different parts. And since we didn't record an outro for every part, this is it. If you want to hear more about education, maybe come and listen to part 2, but like no pressure though, and happy holidays from Copy and Paste. Smile.